Vito. Dan Bernal,
Present.
Maria Bonneville,
Here.
Judy Chow, Leander Clark Harvey, Anne Marie DeLiege,
Here.
Isabel Doron,
Here.
Mark Fisher Colbury,
Here.
Elena Flowers. Sorry, Elena, I think you may be on mute.
Present.
Got it. Thank you. David Higgins, Vito Imbassiani,
Here.
Rich Lahara.
Here.
Thank you, Rich. Chris Miaskowski,
Present.
Lauren Miller Rogan,
Here.
Adriana Padilla,
Here.
Joe Panetta,
Here.
Marv Southard,
Here.
Carol Watson,
Here.
Kevin Zhu.
Actually just joining.
Okay, I see that Kevin is just joining us.
Yes, sorry.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Okay, we're good to go, Vito. We have a
Thank you,
quorum.
Scott. So we're going to consider the applications that are submitted in response to clinical trial stage projects in the program announcement. And Dr. Haley Lamb is going to make the presentation of the applications. Take it away, Haley.
Thank you. Good morning to the board. Can you all see my share screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I'll be taking you through the clinical applications today. As always, we begin with our mission, accelerating world-class science to deliver transformative regenerative medicine treatments in an equitable manner to a diverse California and world. The current budget status for the clinical program is as follows. 145.5 million was approved or allocated rather to the clinical budget, and 14 million has been approved so far, and there's just under 30 million up for discussion today. The scoring system for the clinical program remains as a 1, 2, and a 3. A 1 is a recommendation for funding, which are the applications before you today. A 2, the applicant can improve the project and does not warrant funding at this time, but they can return with a resubmission. A score of a 3 is a do not recommend for funding, and the same project cannot return for at least 6 months. The review criteria by which these applications are scored for the scientific aspects are these 5. So does the project hold necessary significance and potential for impact? Is the rationale sound? Is the project well planned and designed? Is the project feasible? And does the project uphold principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion? In our clinical program, in addition to the scientific scoring, we also have a diversity, equity, inclusion scoring, which is a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being an outstanding response. And these are scored by all members of the Grants Working Group board members with no conflict. The review panel that reviews all of these applications is composed as follows. There's up to 15 scientific Grants Working Group members, and these folks provide the scientific evaluation across the disease area, manufacturing, regulatory, product development, and they provide a scientific score for all applications. Our Grants Working Group board members, which is our patient advocate and nurse members of the board, provide a DEI evaluation and provide a patient perspective on the applications. And they provide a DEI score on all applications, and they're also invited to suggest a scientific score. In addition, we have non-voting scientific specialists that we bring in as needed to provide expertise in areas that are not covered by our panelists, our scientific Grants Working Group members. So with that, I'll be going straight into the applications. The first application for the committee to consider today is CLIN2 17078. So this is a gene-edited stem cell product for ADA SCID, which I'll talk about a little bit more. The goal of this project is to essentially establish commercial manufacturing of the product in anticipation of filing for licensing of the product. They're requesting just under 15 million with just under 10 million in co-funding, and this is a California organization. So a little bit about the disease. So ADA SCID is a adenosine deaminase deficiency. It's essentially these patients have a non-functioning immune system, and if it's not treated, it's generally fatal within the first 2 years of life. The current treatment that's ideal is a match-related sibling donor transplant, and it usually is quite successful, but it's only available for about 20% of patients. So the proposed therapy for those folks that don't have an ideal donor, there is significant risks of rejection and long-term side effects of treatment from a transplant. And the proposed therapy is essentially to correct the patient's own copy of that ADA enzyme. And it's a potentially curative treatment that is a one-time treatment and has lower rejection risks and lower risk of long-term side effects. And how it's relevant to CIRM is that it's a gene-edited stem cell product. In terms of CIRM portfolio, there is a current running phase 2 trial for the same product. This trial has been ongoing for a while, but still has some funding in it and is anticipated to be able to treat a few more patients with the remaining funds. The applicant team has received several awards rather from CIRM and previously. Some of them are active awards across all like the spectrum essentially of our product development pipeline. So translational and discovery, and as well as some some awards that have been closed. And all of these approaches are similar in the sense that they are gene correcting the patient's own cells for a gene that has a mutation in it. So for your consideration today is this application I've been discussing, efficacy and safety of cryopreserved autologous CD34 HSC transduced with EFS. ADA lentiviral vector encoding for the human ADA gene in ADA SCID subjects. And so they're requesting 14.798 million, and the GOG recommendation for this was a unanimous 15 votes in favor of funding and a DEI score of 8.5. And the CIRM team concurs with the recommendation of the grants working group. Thank you.
Haley Stun? Yes, thank you, Haley. Chair would like to entertain a motion to accept the recommendation on this application.
I move it.
And Marv seconds?
Anne Marie and
Marv Southern.
thank you, Marvin. Okay, the floor is open for discussion by board members on application 1708078.
Maria has her hand up.
You can see that better than I. Thank you. Maria.
Hi, I just have a question for the team. So this is an award that we currently fund, and this is just to extend the work that's already being done to be able to treat more patients within the same trial. Is that what I'm understanding?
So the purpose of this project is essentially to fund the commercial manufacturing of the product. So, and that's a necessary step to be able to file for the BLA for licensing, if that makes sense.
And in order to do that, they needed to add more people to more trial participants.
Correct. So the FDA.
Go ahead.
Yes, so, sorry. So the FDA is requesting for the commercial product that they have to essentially prove that that commercial product is equivalent to what they've been using.
And is that an activity that we normally fund, or is this something that, have we done this before, is I guess my question, and is this something that we anticipate we will be doing for other awards in order to get them to a BLA?
Yeah, so it would be the expected step for BLA.
Thank you.
Haley, sorry, my
Yes.
raised hand doesn't work. Sorry, Vito. When we talked about getting it to market or to manufacture it, remind me, one, if we get any any dollars back once it gets into manufacturing? And two, do we have some control or say over pricing, which oftentimes in very rare diseases usually is a really big lift for most families. So I'm wondering where we come in on that and what we can say about that.
About your first question, I'm not exactly sure what can you clarify on the manufacturing back?
Well, it's my understanding based on what Maria just asked, that it is leading towards manufacturing. It's still in trial. I'm assuming that, because I know we talked about getting into supporting, building manufacturing and working with manufacturing. So I'm assuming we're moving in that direction to get, to get okay. And if I'm wrong, please clear it up for me. But I'm actually more concerned about pricing and impact of this and what kind of say we have in regulating pricing.
So, Haley, do you want me to respond?
Sure.
Yeah. So just to clarify, these applicants are in their last steps towards getting a BLA. If they do, and they wouldn't necessarily achieve that until the end of this award, they need to conduct these manufacturing activities to get to that place. Once they do get a BLA and begin commercialization activities, then there are the regulations that we have in place that would apply in terms of, the relative amount that we provide to how much they make, or if they choose to license the product and so on. So those rules, probably Scott and Raphael know way better than I do, but those don't apply until they complete those activities and get to this point. But the activities that we would be funding under this award are consistent with the types of activities that we have funded other projects. I think here we're looking at a project that is at the very tail end of what would be the equivalent of a phase 3 and into BLA.
So I'm gonna be stupid again, Gil, and ask another question,
no worries.
because I'm still what I really want to know is at what point, at any point in time, do we have a say if it gets into manufacturing and commercialization? Do we have any say on pricing or control? Because this is the kind of, if it's a rare disease and it is an invaluable discovery, it's going to be very pricey. And my concern is that, a lot of those children who suffer from it, their families don't necessarily have a ton of money to afford this cure, I would hope it's called. So I'm just wondering if we, CIRM, have, maybe JT can answer, but I'm just kind of wondering now as we keep talking about commercialization, and who knows what's going to happen in the context of our next administration. So I'm just wondering if we have any power, since we funded things like this, that we can help keep the costs down.
Vito, this is Scott. If I could jump in, perhaps.
Yeah, because I have 4 people with their hands up, but I want someone out of order even who will respond to that question. Is that you, Scott?
Just wondering if we have any.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Since we funded things like this, that we can help keep the costs down.
Yeah.
Isabel, no, I don't want to.
I have 4 people with their hands up, but I want someone out of order even who will respond to that question. Is that you, Scott?
Ben, I think that's you. So can
That's
you mute
right.
yourself?
Go ahead.
So I can
help.
Okay. Can you hear me, Isabel? Sorry.
Yes, Scott, I can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, and I don't want to overwhelm everyone with a primer in your in our IP regs, but your question is a great one, and one that the Institute has wrestled with for many years, and is developed a policy that's embodied in our intellectual property regulations, and that provides, pursuant to Prop 1471's mandate, that Californians with no other means have access to therapies that are developed with certain funding. So to your question, Californians who fall under 300% of the federal poverty line, a commercializing entity must come up with an access plan and present that plan to this board for approval that will address access to such Californians. And the board has an up or down vote on that. In addition, California public entities that purchase with public funds also must be provided access and pricing that is negotiated with those entities at a discount. And then finally, there is a third leg, and of course, naturally, I'm forgetting it. We have the access plans and then California pricing. Oh, that's right. Finally, and this is a vestige of an earlier law in California. I believe it was under the Schwarzenegger administration that the California Discount Prescription Drug Program, the CDPDP, which was never funded, unfortunately, was a statewide, as the name implies, discount prescription drug program. So what we've said is we sort of bootstrapped to that body of law and basically said, whenever this program goes live or its successor goes live, then a commercializing entity must participate in that program to provide discounted prescription drugs to Californians. So those are sort of the three pricing legs of the stool that California has for commercializing entities. Thank you, Vito.
Thanks. So I have Anne-Marie and Maria. Which of you wants to follow on to this discussion? Anne-Marie?
Okay, it doesn't matter. It's not directly related, although I understand the importance of the question Isabel was asking. But just to clarify and follow up to Maria's first question, this project has already been funded. It's in phase 2. And I would be curious to know how many patients have been enrolled out of how many patients should be enrolled, just to know where we are. But then is this to add patients with a new market commercial level manufacturing process to show to the FDA that the results are similar with the updated manufacturing process?
Yes.
Or are these purely manufacturing activities?
No, they would have to the funding is to manufacture the commercial product and then treat patients and demonstrate, hopefully, ideally, that the treatment is similar results in those trial participants.
So this is the second step, manufacturing, which is parallel to the ongoing phase 2 trial. And then when the manufacturing is available, more patients will be then added, which may require more funding.
Correct. I mean, right. So right.
Yeah. Briefly, I do understand how things happen in clinical development, and it takes such a huge amount of time that we go in parallel rather than in a sequential steps. It would have been ideal, but I think I'm just sharing my knowledge here, to first have a knowledge that this intervention is effective and then do the manufacturing process. But I believe that in reality, it's a risk taking, but patients cannot afford that we take so much time in the development. I assume that that's the reality. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say, I believe that this group has treated, I think it's over 50 patients with the product, with the non-commercial product. And they've had really, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, pretty good results, I think. So
great.
They've published, I think, like the most recent one, I think, was a publication where 48 out of the 50 patients achieved long-term immune restoration.
Great. Well, very useful information. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Haley, for the clarifying comment too. I saw some hands go down, but I want to offer the opportunity if Raphael or Maria or anyone else wanted to add anything at this point.
Nothing for me. Scott did a great job.
Okay, thank you, Raphael. Any other comments from board members on 17078?
Dr. Ambasiana, if I may, I also just wanted to add a comment related to this particular application with regards to, I think, Isabel's questions.
Please do.
This particular applicant is working with a public benefit corporation, which and with the commercial manufacturing partner, and that this particular partnership, they are one of their main focuses. The intent is at least to be patient focused in terms of access to this therapy.
Thank you, Haley. May I just say, this kind of costs, even with help, can sometimes break the back of even middle income families and even upper income families. So I was just wondering about it, but thanks everybody for the clarifications. I appreciate it.
Okay, Isabel, I don't see any other comment. I'll ask if there's any member of the public that would like to comment on this application.
There are no hands raised.
There are no hands raised. Scott, I think we are ready to go to a roll call vote.
Great. And the motion is to fund CLIN 2-17078. Maria Bonneville,
Yes.
Judy Chow, Leandra Clark Harvey, Anne-Marie Deliege,
Yes.
Isabel Derone,
Yes.
Mark Fisher Colbury,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Vito Ambassi,
Yes.
Rich Lahara,
Yes.
Lauren Miller Rogan,
Yes.
Adriana Padilla,
Yes.
Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Marv Southard,
Yes.
Kevin Zhu.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That motion carries.
Thank you, Scott. We can now proceed to the consideration of CLIN 2-17127. Dr. Lamb?
Thank you. So on to the second application. This is a gene modified stem cell therapy for Artemis SCID, ART SCID, and the goal of this project is to complete, complete a phase 2 trial and also submit a BLA, and they're requesting just under 15 million with no co-funding, and this is a California organization. So background on this disease, so it is also a different variety, I suppose, of the SCID, so essentially no functioning immune system. And again, this is also fatal if not treated. And this particular variation of the SCID is disproportionately impacts Native American populations. And the current standard of care transplant has more complications in Artemis SCID compared to other types of SCID. And they oftentimes need frequent, expensive treatments, ongoing treatments, because the immune systems cannot be fully restored even with a successful transplant. So the proposition of the value of the proposed therapy is to modify the patient's own blood stem cells with a functional copy of the defective gene and with the goal of restoring a healthy immune system. And again, the patient's own cells will reduce the risk of transplantation, such as the graft rejection. And also the data to date has showed that there's a more complete restoration of the immune system with this method. And this is a CERN project as it's derived from stem cells and is a gene therapy. The CERM portfolio projects, so there is a phase 1 trial that is closing for the same product and project. And this is, again, a phase 2 trial, so a continuation. The applicant team has received prior CERM funding for several stages along the development of the same product, as you could see here. So they've been funded from preclinical through IND enabling and the phase 1 trial. So for the Application Review Subcommittee's consideration is CLIN 217127, gene therapy for Artemis deficient severe combined immunodeficiency using a self-inactivating lentiviral vector. The grants working group recommendation was a unanimous recommendation to fund, and the DEI score for this application is an 8, and the CERM team concurs with the grants working group recommendation to fund for the award amount of just under 15 million. So I'll hand it back to Chair Bassiani.
Thank you, Haley, and thank you for the recommendation from the review team. I would like to have a motion to open up discussion, please.
Marv Southern moves.
Yes. Marvin, that was a motion to fund, yes? Yes, okay. And we have a second?
Not at the moment.
Second, Mark Fisickolby.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Okay. I'd like to open the floor to discussion from board members. And I don't see any hands. Okay. Is there any member of the public that would like to address this application?
There are no hands raised.
And there are none raised. Okay. Scott, I know you just did it, but you need to do it again. Roll call vote.
All right, just one moment. And this is a motion to fund CLIN 217127.
Yes.
Judy Chow, Leandra Clark Harvey, Anne Marie Deliege,
Yes.
Mark Fisher Colbury,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Vito Bassiani,
Yes.
Rich Lahara,
Yes.
Lauren Miller Rogan,
Yes.
Adriana Padilla,
Yes.
Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Marv Southard. Marv, I think you may be on mute.
I don't think so. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it was just me. Carol Watson, Lauren Miller Rogan.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Kevin Zhu,
Yes.
Marv Southard. It's like we're on a radio program. Great, that motion carries. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it was just me. Carol.
I said yes.
Great, thank you. I think I have everyone's vote recorded, and Vito, the motion carries.
Well, thank you very much. Okay. So we're coming now to the part of the meeting for public comment. I would like to ask Gil no, I see we have a member of the public in attendance who would like to make a comment. I'd ask the gentleman, please state your name, and you have 3 minutes to address the board.
Dr. Ramkumar, I don't know if you can hear us.
Dr. Ramkumar, can you hear me?
Oh,
You have 3 minutes to address the board.
Can you hear me?
yes. Dr. Ramkumar, I don't know if you can hear us. Turn off the YouTube, Dr. Ramkumar.
Dr. Ramkumar, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I keep hearing an echo.
Oh,
You have 3 minutes to address the board.
if you had it open on YouTube, could you please turn off that browser or? Oh. Oh, sorry, we can't. Okay. No, Dr. Ramkumar, we can see your lips moving, but unfortunately there's no audio.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, so sorry for the technical issues.
That's okay. The clock has not started yet. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Ram. I'm the CEO for Oculogenix, and we are developing a promising gene therapy for an unmet need in the ocular space. that will benefit over 2 million Californians with AMD. Our pre-IND meeting paved a very clear path for us to get to first-in-human trials with a strong FDA support of our plans. We submitted our CLIN1 grant proposal in July, and were notified in October that we will not proceed to the GWG merit review prior to making a funding decision. So, and we didn't receive any details at that time. I did attend the June ARS meeting where Dr. Zambrano presented the new qualifying process that was approved by the ICOC. And I did listen into the details of the qualifying process that had both an objective element and a subjective element. And when I coordinated our input with CIRM, I did get a reply yesterday that kind of said that during the qualifying process, we received a score of 3 out of 6 on the objective portion and 13 out of 20 on the subjective portion. So when, and Dr. Ham was kind enough to attach the 2 GWG reviewer comments along with the scores. When we reviewed that, I realized that this process did not work to our advantage, primarily because I believe as a non-pipeline proposal, we are disadvantaged from a subject, from the first element of the process, the objective portion. And on the subjective portion, out of the 2 reviewers, it was obvious to us that one reviewer either did not have the background to evaluate the proposal or made comments against the score that were wrong in 3 out of the 4 categories. So you get a score of 5 for each of 4 criteria in the second category that's called subjective. And we found that 3 out of the 4 were based on assumptions that were all wrong. So we said that we needed to bring this to your attention and see how we could, as a California corporation with a promising therapy in our hands, get support from CIRM and work through this process. I understand it's a change in the process, but we don't know how to work it.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank-
Ramkumar.
Thank you, Dr. Ramkumar. Does that require a response? I don't think so. I thank you for your remarks. They're duly noted. Any other member of the public wish to address the board on the applications that have been submitted or on any other item not on the agenda? No. No? Okay. Well, folks, I think we've come to the end of the agenda then. Thank you very much for your participation. Any final comments from anyone? If not, we are adjourned.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for making it.